Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. Sorry I was sitting up from my chair or whatever just a moment ago. I'm returning to you tonight for a album review. This is for another Megadeth marathon studio album review. I believe this is going to be their 7th studio album, or not 7th, 8th studio album I meant to say. So please forgive me on saying that. This is for the long-awaited album review you've been waiting for Megadeth's 8th studio album, Risk, that I just got done listening to for their 8th studio album for all 12 tracks. So I'm going to discuss what I listened to for the album Risk and let you know my thoughts on it. So let's dive into this album review by Megadeth called Risk. Now it starts with the first track, Insomnia, and off the bat it's not my personal favorite track. The mixing is pretty off, and the production with the instrumentation and all that is a little off. And Dave Mustaine's vocals and his repetitiveness with saying insomnia quite a bit of times. Insomnia kind of thing. I wasn't feeling for this track in any way. There were some strong moments with the verses, but basically with how it's sounding overall, sonically, mixing wise, it's not very good, but it's okay. So 3 out of 5 for Insomnia. I just wasn't feeling for this track too much. Prince of Darkness was an average track. There are some vocal pitches from Dave Mustaine that I'm not on board with this track. And basically the instrumentation is pretty strong, but it's just the mixing's pretty off, and how Dave Mustaine is singing it some of the time can be a little cringeworthy on the cringe side, but it's whatever, I guess. So 3.5 out of 5. Enter the Arena is just an interlude to the next song, Crush 'Em, and that was an average song, an average interlude, I guess you could say. So 3.5 out of 5. There's not much you're going to get with this track, just Dave Mustaine singing and then chanting, the chanting in the background with crush 'em, and other things like that they're ranting on about and just chanting about. So, yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for the interlude, Enter the Arena. Crush 'Em is an average track. It's not a great song in any way, but it's something at least. So 3.5 out of 5. It just has some weak instrumentation some of the time, and just the melody is a little off key, and the mixing and production in this track is just a little weak in my opinion. So this is my least favorite song. So 3 out of 5 for Crush 'Em. I thought it'd be an average song, but it's okay, I guess. It's not the best song, but it's okay. It's a something track. Breadline is an average song. There are some lyrics I don't know if I'm getting behind on with this track, with how Dave Mustaine is singing it. But instrumentally, it's pretty strong. It's just, I don't know how I'm feeling for it. So 3.5 out of 5 for Breadline. I think instrumentation, it's good. It's just that it has some weak vocal performances from Dave Mustaine, and just some of the mixing's a little bit off with how the verses are sounding and all that. So yeah, it's just got some weak lyricism some of the time, but the instrumentation's not too bad. So yeah, The Doctor Is Calling is a decent song. I do like the instrumentation in this one, and some of the way Dave Mustaine is singing it some of the time, it's pretty strong, and then it has its weak underlying moments, underwhelming moments some of the time too. So 4 out of 5 for The Doctor Is Calling. I think with how it's sounding overall with this track, it's not that bad. It's a decent song. I'll Be There is a pretty solid track. It's good in its own way. I do like this track a little bit. I wouldn't say I really love it, but I think it's one of the stronger tracks on the album that you're going to find. I think this and 2 other songs are the strongest tracks on the album. But Yeah, 4.5 out of 5 for I'll Be There. I do like how it's sounding, mostly with the instrumentation and Dave Mustaine's vocals. Wanderlust is a decent song. It's not the best song for a Megadeth song, but it's something. I think they kind of drifted apart with this album and went into new territory with their sound in this album, and were experimenting a bit, but not did not do very well in my opinion. But it's whatever, I guess. So 4 out of 5 for Wanderlust. Ecstasy is a decent track. Instrumentally, it's strong, but Dave Mustaine's vocals kind of ruin it a little bit for me, in my opinion. But it's how it's sounding overall with his vocals. This one, he's playing with his vocals a bit too much, so yeah, it's something. So 4 out of 5. 7 is a strong track. It's actually the song right before the time, the beginning, and the end songs for the last two tracks on the album, but I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. I like it instrumentally, and I like Dave Mustaine's vocals in some of the tracks, so 4.5 out of 5. Time the Beginning is a decent song. It's not the best thing I've heard, but it's something. It leads into the final outro to the song, which then closes pretty strong. So 4 out of 5 for Time the Beginning. And finally, we get to Time the End, and in my personal opinion, it's a solid track. It's good in its own way, but does have some weak moments with how Dave Mustaine's. Well, it's just mostly instrumentals in this track. I don't think I heard any singing in this track, but it's something. So 4.5 out of 5. Overall, production, mixing, and execution wise, I think Megadeth Risk was meh. It's not very good, but it's something at least. It's their weakest album in their discography. So yeah, for what I know so far, it's their weakest. I heard Super Collider was a little bit worse, but that's what I heard. I don't know. It just depends on the listener that listens to it, which I'm going to be listening to it in the future sometime, right? I think I'm going to be listening to it in like close to Thanksgiving, I guess. So, yeah, overall, in my opinion, I think Megadeth Risk album was meh. It's not very good, but it's something at least. It's a something album. It's almost bad, but I know some critics have given it lower scores than what I'm gonna give it. But first score for me, I'm giving Megadeth Risk album a 6 out of 10. This was meh. It's a little underwhelming for the first half of the album, but then you get into some better, stronger territory with how the other tracks sound, and it doesn't do bad, but there are some underwhelming songs through the first 5 tracks, and then the rest of the album picks up a bit more. So, close to the first half of the album is where it's the weakest. So, yeah, 6 out of 10 for Megadeth Risk. Comment below. Let me know what you guys thought of the Megadeth album Risk if you've listened to it. And if you enjoyed this album review I did for you guys tonight for Megadeth Risk, comment below and let me know your thoughts on it. Tap like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe to my channel if you can. Support the channel. I will have another Megadeth album review being premiered tonight. I believe it's going to be tonight on the 14th, of course. So you're not going to be able to see it till past midnight or so. I think at midnight I'll be have it ready for you guys. I got to record it first and then I'm going to set it for a premiere. And I think it's for their 9th studio album, for The World Needs a Hero. I was just looking at it on my notebook or whatever, on my journal or whatever, so yeah, I hope you enjoyed this album review for Megadeth Risk, the 8th studio album I listened to for Megadeth's discography. I did the best I could to make this album review as good as possible. And yeah, there will be the Andor show reviews, the TV show reviews coming out. You might not see it till like Wednesday at least. So I gotta get caught up on that again. But until then, stay safe, guys. Take care. And as always, I will see you in my next review.